So they're usually labeled. They'll usually have a front on one end and a rear on the other. And what I like to do is sit down on a rock.
Okay.
Because trying to do this balancing is not a good look for me.
Fair, yes.
And then you just stick your front foot in the front part, and then these are small, so I'm going to get a different pair, but then you just go ahead and pull them down around your heel.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
And then there's a little bit of finagling to get them kind of just perfect.
Yes.
And I like to put them on at the beginning of my hike if I know there's going to be ice, because as we all do, there's that voice in your head that's like, oh, do I stop and put them on?
Right.
And you maybe reason yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And then it's often too late to change your mind.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be on the ice when you're deciding that you need these
Actively
guys.
sliding when you think I should have put my micro spikes on.
Right, definitely. Okay, should we
Let's
go
start the
check it out?
trail.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Hi there. How was your hike? Good. I bet. See, this is
pretty
pretty
perfect.
typical for this time of year. We get this overnight. It ices over. People walk on it during the day. It gets a little warm. It ices over again. And pretty soon you just have this fully slick surface. And sometimes you can even end up with black ice that you can't even see.
Yeah.
And that'll catch visitors off guard.
Okay.
So, again, just always a good idea to have traction devices with you. And can you imagine trying to navigate that with a couple of dogs on leash?
Oh my goodness, dogs and then no traction devices.
Right.
Yeah, you're in trouble right there. All right, Mary Ann, we're taking a little break in our little hike here because a lot of us, I know, especially when it comes to winter hiking, we'll just grab our pack and get going. But there are some things we need to think about bringing, right?
Yes, you're going to want to augment your pack for winter. And one of my favorite things is just a very simple, these are not fancy, but we just came around the corner here into the shade and all of a sudden my hands just do not feel great.
Yeah.
So just a very simple pair of gloves. The other thing I love is not too ashamed to carry some hand warmers. And I don't know if you're like I am, my hands just stop functioning when they get cold. And that can actually be very dangerous. If you don't have the ability to undo buckles or move your hands and have any dexterity when you're cold, that can be very dangerous. So having some hand warmers as an emergency is great.
That's huge, yeah.
Another thing I love to put in, and these aren't huge, but this is just a little personal shelter. And it just wraps up into this small little thing. They're available from a lot of different brands, but you open this up and it's almost like your own little tent.
Wow.
So if for some reason you get disoriented or there's a squall that comes in, it's very cold and you want to try to stay dry and sit it out, you can put this on yourself and this could actually save your life.
Wow.
You know, it could sustain you. It gives you that extra layer. It can protect you. So these are very simple, very small, very lightweight. This isn't the only brand, but it's just a little bivouac that you can put in your bag.
Love that.
Another thing that our visitors really need to be thinking about is just an extra layer.
Okay.
So I have here a windbreaker.
Yes.
Rain jacket here just to the bottom of my pack. I carry this at all times because even in Colorado, if you're a trail runner and for some reason you need to stop running and it gets dark, you're sweaty, you're going to get cold.
Right.
And so just that hypothermia piece of having that extra jacket.
Yes.
And one other thing a lot of our visitors don't think of is make sure you have a fully charged cell phone before you leave. In the cold weather, batteries can drain down faster. If you can store it next to your body too, that can also help to keep that battery a little bit longer.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, I know that you did mention, of course, the trail runners and the people that keeping that extra layer. I think a lot of times, you know, we come out, we trail run, or we tend to, you know, have our hearts racing a little bit while we're hiking, and we think we're going to get hot and sweaty, so we're not going to worry about that extra layer. What do you say to that?
This trail runner fell while running. I was a good 3 miles from home and I broke a rib and I could not run home. So I walked home, but it was a lesson to me because I was shaking by the time I got to my front door and I could almost not use my key. My hands were not functioning. And so this is an example of just bring that extra layer. I know it's tough. You want to be light because you're trail running, but for your own safety, bring that extra layer.
Okay,
Yeah.
should we finish our hike?
Let's go for a hike.
All right,
yeah,
let's do it.
okay.
That's right. Make sure you're staying safe on the trails by following Mary Ann's tips. And to stay up to date on alerts and closures, head to jeffco.us. Know before you go.